Hello viewers, welcome back to another episode of The Grumpy Penguin with Project Datsun. Today I'm going to be tackling the brakes on the car, at least getting into it. This may be a multi-part video for this one, depending on how long this takes. I have done a lot of the prep work and bought some custom-made hard lines, or some custom-made soft lines as well. Today, however, I want to make the hard lines that are going to go under the engine bay, or in the engine compartment. So what I'm going to be doing is taking this just generic 3/16 line, bending it into place, putting some ends on it that I have over here, and flaring it using the flaring tool that I've bought. I've been kind of messing around. I've made a couple little lines already. It's actually pretty cool. Also using some really trick bulkhead fittings. That it's going to be our transition from 3/16 brake lines to the -3 AN lines that I'm running in the rest of the car. Cat, shop cat's just running rogue today. So yeah, that's what we're gonna be working on. So kind of maybe walk through the parts of the system. So obviously we have the hard lines. Those are there. Those have some 3/16 ends. These are -3 AN braided lines. I've chose not to build my own, mostly because these work really well with crimped ends instead of the ones you do kind of up in the vise like the other AN lines I've done. And the benefit to that is that these are already pressure tested for the PSI that is going to be used today, or used with the car. So less chance of a failure, and they come in various lengths. You can just order them off of, not a sponsor, but I ordered these from Summit, and then had Pegasus Auto make me the rest of the soft lines. So, but we're gonna start with the hard lines under the hood. And to do that, I usually just take some bits of wire. This is actually fencing wire that I had laying around for the property. And it's an easy medium to manipulate. So I've already had the first line bent. You kind of see that there. I've already made that line. I'm gonna be working on the next line here. So just kind of bend it to shape and then cut it to length, and then it should work in the engine compartment. So first step in the process is to create your template, kind of bend that into place. And then you use that template to create your actual line. The line is pretty easy to bend. I don't have any bending tools. I decided not to buy any and just see how it goes. I'm only basically making like 3 or 4 little lines here, so not doing a lot of that. If I were gonna do this every day, I'd probably buy the tooling to properly bend this stuff, but you can bend it by hand and you can straighten it by hand, and unless you're doing big runs with it or a lot of intricate bends, it's pretty easy to put together. So that's going to be the first line done. This is for the rear brakes. I'm just going to send one line to the back and I'm going to split it over the rear axle. The front brakes, however, or the front brake master cylinder, I'm going to need to tee that off. So I've created this little small piece here with a T-fitting, and I'm going to run one over obviously to the right brake, and the other one's going to come right over top of this and go into the left brake. So now I'm going to show you how to go ahead and take that template that I formed here and make it into an actual brake line. How do you go from this to, well, what you need to do? So the first step is you don't want to straighten this out, because that just undoes all the work you've done to make it the right shape. So you need to determine how long this is to mate it up to. So what I'll do is I'll kind of straighten out a little bit of line here. They do make line straightening tools where you can kind of run them through like a vise mounted device. Again, if I were going to be doing a whole lot of this, I'd probably invest in that tooling. I may still at some point, but for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and run with what I've got. So, all right. So what I like to do here is just kind of maybe a little bit more laid out here. It kind of sits where it needs to. So just kind of follow the contour along a straight line and you'll have enough to end up where you are, and it keeps your template in place. So first thing I'm gonna do is cut this off, deburr the ends, and then we will put the fittings on, flare both ends, and then we'll bend the line into place. So that worked out pretty well. I think that's going to work just fine for our purposes, and we'll go ahead and next step will be to drill the holes through the firewall to get this in. But first I think I'm going to make the line here to the other side. So that's going to be a big one. We'll be working. All right, guys, that's going to do it for the hard lines in the engine bay. They're all connected now to bulkhead fittings. The next step is to get the car up on the lift and do the soft lines, which are everything underneath. So let's get to it. up in the air. The next step is to run the braided lines that are going to run from the bulkhead fitting to the, I'm actually going to reuse the factory brake line bracket, I guess is what it's called. Just basically where it would go from, it would transition in the original car from the hard line to the soft line. This time I'm doing that transition just up here at the bulkhead fitting. I'm gonna run a soft line to that fitting place. I've got a fitting adapter there to go. From that soft line to the brake soft line that connects to the calipers, which aren't on the car just yet, just so we have a little more working room. All right, now these are just braided steel soft lines. And these I think are from Goodrich or somebody's, they're just off the shelf units, 26 inches long. I figured that'd be close enough for what we're doing here. A little bit of extra slack isn't gonna hurt anything. So gonna go ahead and get it kind of in place here. Probably put some roof nuts into this channel here to hold it down with some P-clips. I think that's gonna be probably the best way to do that, just to keep it obviously out of harm's way and from moving. So let's get into it. All right, guys, that is pretty much it for the front brakes. We've got the soft line secured to the chassis, for lack of a better term. This is actually part of the body structure, but got the soft line secured, got it mounted to a removable and serviceable joint, and then the soft line to the brake caliper is installed. Now these are Nissan 300ZX calipers. This kit is made by Sprizo. He's out on the East Coast, left side of the country. So if you are running one of these cars and you want to run a brake kit that allegedly, now I've not used this, but I've been told that it will not fade. We'll test that on the track next summer for sure, but I have a lot of confidence in these brakes. I've used them on my S13 and S14 in the past, and they perform very well on track. The only downside, I was able to buy these remanufactured, so all the seals and everything are good. You can buy remanufactured kits if you were to find them online. I bought them from, I think, in Juku or something, somewhere, some Nissan specific or semi-specific Nissan parts vendor. So they are out there. The downside, or the only downside I have, is that the rotors have to be custom made. They're not very expensive, and Sprizo, when he sends you when you buy the kit, he sends you a file as far as what you need to reorder them, and they're actually manufactured just up the road, up I-75 for me, so they're very local to me, by some small racer company that makes custom brakes and everything else, and they had them manufactured pretty quickly, but it's not an off-the-shelf item, but it utilizes all the other OEM components. You do have to run 15-inch wheels, so the OEM wheels will not clear, or other 14s will not clear. Not all 15s will clear. So I plan on running some Watanabes, which I'm pretty sure will clear just due to the spoke structure and things like that. The only other downside I have with these front brakes is that because it's an older brake design, it's from a Z32 Nissan, they're still utilized quite a bit, but there isn't a large and wide selection of pad availability for track use. You can get pads anywhere. You can get them at AutoZone if you want to just go cheap, or you can buy some nicer ones that are maybe a little track centric, but there's not like every flavor of Hawk pads. If you're a Hawk pad fan, like I am, I prefer to use Hawk pads, but there really isn't a Hawk pad available, so I'll be using some other brake pads. We'll see how that goes. That would be probably the only reason I would change away from these brakes. I do think the setup's going to be more than large enough for the type of driving that I'm doing, for the weight of the car, everything like that. But if I can't get the pads I need, I may have to change away. But for now, this is a essentially bolt-on solution that works. If you are doing this in a way that I am not, which means you're just bolting this onto your stock Datsun so you have some more reliable stopping power on the street, ordering just this line that goes from this mounting point here, the soft line essentially, to the brake caliper is relatively easy. You can just ring up Pegasus Racing is who I used. They pre-make the line for you. Basically just take your old one and look at the ends that you need to the end of this one. This is a concave M10 by 1.0 thread. On the back side of this, that's also just, you can Google that, there's like write-ups galore for this brake swap on S chassis. So that's the good news, is there's lots of documentation. So enough rambling. That is the front brake setup for this car. I've just got to slap pads in. The brake rotor itself is actually coming off. I don't have my Watanabes here yet, so I'm still rolling it around the shop on my 14-inch Advans that do not clear these. So I take the brake calipers back off for now for rolling purposes, so I won't be putting fluid in the system today until my 15s show up, which should be soon. I think I'm going to order those this week, depending on when this video comes out. More than likely this video is going to come out toward the end of December. I've tried to stockpile some videos so that y'all can watch them during your holiday break, whatever holiday you choose to celebrate. If you have Christmas Day off and you don't want to spend it with relatives, as a lot of us do, I'd like to provide some fresh content on YouTube for you to watch. So I'll probably be releasing these videos really close to that holiday date. So with the front axle being done, let's go ahead and move on to the rear. Let's run the rear brake line and then move on to the rear axle. So there are two bulkhead fittings here. The top one is for the front brakes, the bottom one is for the rear brake line, I think. Maybe I'm backwards. I gotta look at my photos or peek my head up over the car here, but basically just gonna run this line here, run it to the back of the car, and secure it along the frame along the way. So let's do it. Oh yeah. That is going to be plenty long enough. Awesome. Motherfuck. Losing my shit. All right. I think it's got focus on me. I can't tell what this damn thing's always in the way. All right. Here's the score. I've run the, wow, that was bad. Let's try this again. All right, here's the score. We've got the braided stainless steel line run to the back. I've got it held in place using just some riv nuts. I know some people hate them, but they work pretty well for most projects, especially for some kind of track car. You can quickly knock a hole into somewhere and bolt something to it. So I like it for that aspect. They're very handy, but maybe not the end all be all, and definitely not the perfect solution for everything, but they've worked well in this application with just some P-clips. So I've got the hose terminated here to a solid point, and then that is going to be transferred to the hoses on the axle. One small flaw, I had some custom hoses made to go from the brake calipers to the T-junction that we're using. And yeah, it's a little narrow, so I'm gonna take the Dremel and widen out the bracket that kind of keeps that banjo fitting in place. So I'm gonna carefully do that, and then should be able to have the rears pretty much completely done. So yeah, let's get to it. Thank you for sticking around this long through the video, as well as this series. This project has been a long, drawn out thing. Thank you to those of you who have encouraged me to keep making these videos. I really appreciate it. As we're putting a wrap on 2023, I was really hoping to have the car on track this year, but next year, I think I am very, very, very close because the brakes are done. Lines are all run. Should be good to go. Not gonna bleed them just yet today. I'm just gonna wait to add fluid here till the end in case I have to take something back off to do something else. But that's pretty much it. There's a very, very small amount of wiring that's left to do. Nothing fun to watch, so probably not gonna film too much of that. And then I get to move on to the big stuff. So stick around. At the end of the video, I'm gonna show the tire setup that I have along with the faux mock-up wheels. I'll explain what I'm doing with that just after this video. It's like a little 1 minute long thing. And then I get to do fun stuff. Aero, splitters, wings, get a roll bar in, really do the track prep that is gonna be a lot of fun for this build and just make it look like the car that it should be from what you see when you open the hood. So keep moving toward that extreme street time trials build, and thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. All right, viewers, here's a little bit of exclusive bonus content for the holidays. I have these beefy big boys to throw on this car. Wasn't sure if they were gonna fit, but ordered a set anyway. Thank you very much, Flying Finch Motorsports, for the hookup. These are two 45 15s, otherwise known as the widest 200 tread wear 15-inch tire available easily. I think there's a 275 floating around somewhere. Couldn't find it, so we're going with these on this build. I think it's gonna be plenty of tire for the autocross extreme street build. It's gonna be plenty of tire, definitely plenty of tire for some time attack work. It's not gonna be competitive. The car isn't gonna be competitive in class. I think this goes to like max 2 or something like that for SCCA time trials. It ends up in some crazy grid life category, but it'll be fun. And my main goal is just kind of light time trials, HPDE track work, that kind of stuff. So a nice wide, sticky 200 treadwear tire is going to be key. I'm gonna hook these up with a set of 15x9 Watanabes and bronze, I think. We'll reveal that, of course, when it gets a little closer. So one thing I wanted to do, and as I said, this is gonna be a little bit of exclusive content. I bought a wheel size offset device. Speedway Motors sells these. They're very, very handy. You basically bolt the tire up to this metal device here, and then it bolts. This is like a universal 4-lug. They also have a universal 5-lug center. I have both for future projects, of course. So that gets slapped on there. I always throw a wheel lug just so it doesn't fall off and hit me in the face. On there. And I'm gonna bring you in a little closer so you can kind of see how this fits. This sticks out a little. Gonna need some fender flares. Haven't figured that part out, but the good news is what you can do is you can really test. I had the suspension taken out, the spring and the shock taken out, and was able to do full testing on this. And believe it or not, it does not hit or rub anywhere except for this little bit of front fender, which is pretty easy to chop off. And of course, it sticks out a couple inches. Pretty standard track autocross thing. I could go to a lower offset, but I would start to have fouling issues inside the fender well, and it's quite a lot easier to just cut the fender and make this wider than to modify all this just to keep the stock bodywork. So we're gonna get the Sawzall out here in the very near future and make these tires fit. Now let's go out back and show you how easily these back wheels fit with a, this is simulated as a 15x9 zero offset. So the back actually fits pretty good, shockingly good as a matter of fact. This is just I've just taped this over fender on that I got these, just some cheapies online. Very, very small over fenders, and it's gonna be absolutely freaking perfect for this with the 285 tire. And let me take you underneath. So check that out. Plenty of room to the coils. So as you can see, the clearance is just about perfect here in the back. I couldn't be happier with how this is working out in the rear of the car. The front's gonna need a lot more work, but I think it's gonna look really cool once it's done. So definitely gonna use these small blisters in the back or something very similar to these. And up front, yeah, probably a much larger version of something like this. Probably gonna paint these. I don't know, they're fairly nice ABS plastic, but I think I'm gonna paint them anyway. I think it's gonna look better body matched, but we'll see. Maybe not get to that early on. But very excited for a proper set of wheels and tires to fit on this car. I think it's just gonna look great and it's gonna function even better. So thank you again for sticking around to the second half of this small video. Happy holidays, and we'll see you in the next one.